Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a book lots of you listeners suggested, Robin Sharma's Who Will Cry When You Die? Our mission here isn't just to skim the surface, but to really unpack the core ideas, pull out the lessons that could genuinely help us live more meaningful lives without it feeling like, homework.
Yeah, and that title, Who Will Cry When You Die, it really grabs you, doesn't it? It cuts straight to Sharma's main point, something his father apparently said. You come into the world crying, everyone else rejoices. The challenge is to flip that script, right? Live so that when you leave, the world feels the loss, but you feel peace about a life well lived.
Exactly. And he sets this against, modern life. We can FaceTime across the globe, but he sees this disconnect. We struggle to connect with people right next to us, to just be present.
It's a paradox, isn't it? All this connection tech, yet Sharma suggests maybe we're more disconnected than ever from ourselves, from purpose, from, what really matters deep down.
And from his speaking gigs, interacting with all sorts of people, he apparently saw these common threads. People wanting more meaning, wanting to make a difference, wanting simplicity, I guess, a chance to actually enjoy life.
It taps into something universal, for sure. That search for meaning.
Right. So that big question, who will cry when you die?
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant to be dark, but more like a prompt.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you think, okay, what impact am I actually having? Who am I touching? What legacy am I building right now? It's about living intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
So where does Sharma say we should start to build that kind of life?
Well, a big starting point for him is this belief that everyone has unique talents, a specific purpose. It's not just about existing, it's about living up to your potential, contributing something, making your corner of the world a little better.
And he stresses this is important. Finding your calling doesn't have to mean quitting your job, right? It could just be bringing more of your real passions into what you already do, finding that energy source.
Exactly. It's about the why behind the what. And he quotes Gandhi here, doesn't he? Be the change you wish to see.
Ah, yes, be the change. That really puts the focus on personal action, embodying your values.
Which leads right into his next big theme, the power of kindness. Sharma argues a meaningful life isn't just big wins. It's built on, daily decency, small acts, consistently.
He mentions Aldous Huxley reflecting on his life, saying simply, let us be kinder to one another.
Yeah.
So simple, yet profound.
Totally. And Sharma gives loafers, tiny things. He even tells that story, I think, from a reader about how just one smile started this positive chain reaction somewhere in Washington.
Yeah, I remember that. It shows how connected we are, even in small ways, those ripples.
Sharma puts it beautifully, actually. Kindness is the rent we must pay for the space we occupy on this planet. Makes you think of it as a responsibility, not just a nice to do.
Rent for our space.
I like that. Okay, so beyond kindness, what about dealing with life's? Well, curveballs. Perspective and resilience seem key for him.
Definitely. He talks a lot about shifting perspective. He brings in Stephen Hawking's point about us being on a small planet, orbiting an average star in one galaxy out of billions.
It puts your daily commute stress in perspective, huh?
Right. It's humbling. Makes you question how huge our problems really are in the grand scheme. And then there's the idea, quoting Euripides, that our biggest setbacks can actually be our biggest opportunities for growth. Reframing challenges.
So obstacles aren't just roadblocks, they're potential turning points.
Exactly. And resilience also involves how we handle memories. He says happy people aren't necessarily those with fewer problems, but those who manage their memories well, learn the lessons, don't just dwell on the bad stuff. Plus, learning from failure, valuing the attempt itself. He quotes Herodotus, Booker T. Washington, basically saying bold action, even if it fails, is better than inaction, and success is measured by obstacles overcome. Okay, that makes sense. Which brings us to the practical stuff, the habits. Sharma spends a lot of time on these. Let's start with the Platinum 30. What's that about?
The Platinum 30, that's the first 30 minutes after you wake up. Sharma sees it as crucial. He uses this great analogy. It's like the base camp for Everest climbers. A safe zone to rest, prep, get centered before the day's challenges hit. How you start sets the trajectory.
And his own routine involves what? Silence, gratitude, visualizing the day.
Yeah, things like that. And reading wisdom literature, Marcus Aurelius, Thoreau, Franklin. Basically, grounding yourself in timeless ideas before the noise of the day starts. Setting an intentional tone.
Okay. Then there's practicing tough love. Sounds a bit harsh, but it's really about self-discipline, isn't it?
Exactly. Not punishment, but like holding yourself to a higher standard, living deliberately instead of just reacting. He says something like, the tougher you are on yourself, the easier life will be. It's about doing the hard things, the important things, even when you don't feel like it. Like that E.M. Gray quote about successful people doing things failures don't like to do.
Which ties into learning to say no. That's a big one for a lot of people, myself included, feeling stretched too thin.
Oh, absolutely. Sharma says it's easier to say yes to everything when you aren't clear on your own priorities. If you know what your big yeses are, it's easier to say no to things that don't align without feeling guilty.
So, clarity first. Get clear on your own goals, then evaluate requests against that.
Pretty much. Know your yes to protect your no. And he suggests keeping the no simple and direct. No need for long excuses.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What about the weekly sabbatical? Taking time off.
Yeah, the idea of a dedicated time each week just for renewal, like the old Sabbath tradition, but maybe just a few hours. Time for solitude, simple pleasures, things you enjoy. It cuts stress, boosts creativity. He quotes Thoreau again, step to the music which he hears. You know, march to your own drum sometimes.
I could use more of that. And then there's talking to yourself mantras. How does that work?
It's about the power of inner dialogue. The words we repeat internally shape our reality. So pick a positive phrase about peace, confidence, whatever you want to cultivate, and repeat it. Throughout the day, during chores, commuting, it gradually rewires your thinking.
Like programming your subconscious. Takes consistency, though.
Definitely. He mentions weeks of repetition. And for worriers, he suggests scheduling worry breaks.
Scheduling worry. How does that work?
Instead of letting worry infect your whole day, you set aside a specific time, say 15 minutes, just worry. Acknowledge the concerns. He uses that image of worry being like a funeral pyre burning the living. By containing it, you stop it from consuming everything else.
An interesting technique. And rising early. He's a big fan of that, too.
Big time. Aligning with the sun's rhythm. He gives examples of famous early risers, tells a story about an executive whose stress dropped, and crucially, he stresses quality of sleep over just quantity. Tips like no heavy meals or news right before bed, good sleep hygiene.
Right. And finally, the action habit. Knowing isn't enough, you have to do.
Exactly. Knowledge is just potential power. Action is what makes it real. Bridging that gap between knowing and doing.
Okay, so that covers habits. What about the inner work side of things? Mindset shifts.
Yeah, a big one is seeing troubles as blessings. Finding the lesson, the growth opportunity in hard times, not just the pain. Managing memories again.
And that idea about genius being mostly perspiration.
Right. 1% inspiration. Hard work, purpose, wanting to help others, that's more critical than just raw talent. Think Edison, Salk, Curie, relentless dedication fueled by purpose.
Then there's physical health, caring for the temple.
Yes. The mind-body connection is huge for her. Your body is this sacred vessel. Diet, exercise, resting, they aren't luxuries. They're essential for the energy to live fully.
And listening deeply, how is that inner work?
Because it requires focus, empathy, attention, away from your own inner chatter. Truly hearing someone, reflecting back, that builds connection, which starts from within.
Okay. And the technique of listing your problems, just writing them down.
Yeah. Sounds simple, but externalizing worries onto paper can bring clarity, relief. Like telling a friend, apparently Bruce Lee and Churchill did this.
Huh. Interesting. And enjoying the process, not just the goal.
Totally. The real value is often in the journey, the growth, the learning. Emerson's quote, "The reward for a thing well done is to have done it. The doing itself is the prize."
And you can't change what you don't acknowledge, right? Awareness precedes change.
Exactly. First step to fixing a bad habit is just noticing it, being aware.
Time management comes up again too. Mastering your time.
Because time is the ultimate limited resource. Avoid procrastination. That Paul Bowles quote about how many more times will we really do something makes you think about not wasting it.
We should always be learning too, becoming a student of wisdom, reading, learning from greats.
Absolutely. He even lists books that influenced him. Keep feeding your mind.
And mindfulness, curing your monkey mind. Being present.
Yeah, quieting that inner chatter. Reduces stress, improves focus. He suggests even focused reading can be a form of mindfulness training.
And lastly, for inner work, getting good at asking. Don't be afraid to ask for what you need.
Right. That Chinese proverb, momentary embarrassment versus lifelong regret. Ask for help, opportunities, resources. What's the worst that can happen?
Okay, so that's inner work. How about connecting outwards? With others? The world?
He talks about creating a love account. Small, consistent deposits in relationships.
Like flowers, a thoughtful book, just saying, I appreciate you.
Exactly. It's the consistency, the showing up that strengthens bonds.
And blessing your money. What's that about? Gratitude when spending.
Yeah, thinking about all the hands involved in bringing you that product or service and the idea that giving and receiving are connected. The hand that gives also gathers. A mindset of abundance.
Makes sense. Prioritizing is key too, focusing on the worthy, high-leverage stuff.
Right. Avoiding busy work. He quotes Confucius, Drucker, all about focus on what truly matters for your mission, your legacy.
And simple things, like handwritten thank you notes.
Hugely powerful, he argues. Taps into that universal need to feel appreciated, strengthens connections.
Reading widely comes up again, but for connection.
Yeah, exposing yourself to diverse ideas expands your world, makes you more understanding. That Cinderella tennis idea, playing with better thinkers, elevates your own thinking.
Ah, the Mastermind Alliance. Building a supportive group.
Yes, people you can share challenges and successes with. Collective wisdom, mutual support. Very powerful.
Creating a daily code of conduct, like personal vows.
Defining your values, what you stand for, and consciously living by them each day. Like a daily vow to appreciate the moment. Keeps you aligned.
Connecting with nature feels intuitive for renewal.
Totally. Restores the spirit, sparks creativity. He gives examples like Newton and the apple, Velcro from burrs. Comes from observing closely.
Even commute time can be used better. Audiobooks, mindfulness.
Yeah, turning dead time into growth time. That guy exercising on the train, finding opportunities everywhere.
The rule of 21 for habits persistence is key.
Right. New habits feel weird at first. Got to push through the resistance, that tendency to go back to the familiar.
Forgiveness not just for them, but for you.
Exactly. It's a selfish act for your own peace. Holding grudges is heavy. That Mark Twain quote about the violet in the heel, beautiful.
And volunteering, getting perspective through service.
Big time. Helps you appreciate what you have, connects you to others, makes a real difference. Schweitzer's point about finding happiness through service.
Okay, bringing it home, living a full life. What are the key takeaways there?
Savoring the simple stuff is huge. Best memories often come from small, everyday moments we might miss. Don't put off living. Remember Emma Goldman preferring roses to diamonds.
Yeah, and taking more risks. Facing fears.
Because regret often comes from inaction, right? The things we didn't do. Freedom is on the other side of fear. His mom's advice, Andre Gidding, step out of the comfort zone.
6 degrees of separation, remembering we're all connected.
Fosters empathy, community.
Making time for family. Seems obvious, but easy to neglect.
Crucial. Time is the greatest gift. Khalil Gibran's point, kids aren't possessions, they're life longing for itself. Be present.
Being unorthodox, running your own race.
Yeah, don't just follow the crowd. Think for yourself. Apple. Emerson value independent thought.
Carrying a goal card, a physical reminder of priorities.
Helps keep the big picture in focus amidst daily chaos. Montaigne's live to the point.
Being more than your moods. Choosing your response.
Recognizing you have control over thoughts and feelings.
Stopping condemnation, less judgment, more peace.
Improves your inner state and relationships.
And the ultimate goal, live fully so you can die happy.
Yeah. Purpose, intention, no regrets. Happiness is something you create. George Bernard Shaw's idea of being used up for a purpose larger than yourself.
So wrapping up this deep dive on who will cry when you die, it feels like a really practical call to action, doesn't it? Live with intention, practice kindness daily, focus on what truly matters.
Definitely. It breaks down living meaningfully into manageable steps, which is probably why so many find it helpful. It's not about some huge mystical quest, but about consistent, conscious choices.
Right. You, our listener, wanted insights without overwhelm. And I think Sharma offers exactly that. Practical principles for a more fulfilling life, built one small action at a time.
So maybe a final thought to chew on. What's just one small thing you can commit to today? A deliberate act of kindness, maybe. A moment of quiet reflection. A tiny step towards a goal. Something that will ripple outwards, contributing to that life you can look back on with joy. It brings us back to that core question, really. Who will cry when you die? Something to ponder.
We really hope this discussion gave you some valuable takeaways. Keep exploring these ideas, find what resonates, and keep striving to live deliberately.